Yeah, we've also always had a digital marketing component to our campaign throughout last year. What we did this year, I think very differently, particularly at the early start of the year, was really look at what we needed to achieve for the year. So yes, we did ramp up our spend and our focus on SEM marketing, and that involved obviously Google AdWords in a fairly major way. The objectives to the campaign were really to drive traffic to our property portal, iProperty.com. That was our substantial objective. Secondly, we wanted to drive traffic from overseas markets that we traditionally don't reach with traditional media. We spend quite a bit of money in brand building in the Singapore market with traditional media, but obviously we don't spend that overseas. So it was an easy way for us to attract, I think, good quality traffic, that is property buyers and property renters, into Singapore from overseas markets. So that was our second objective. Thirdly, we wanted to obviously provide leads to our developer customers, so property developers and property agents, banks, etc. So because obviously that's the core business we're in. So whatever traffic we drove to the site needed to engage with the product. I think going forward we'll look again at spending a fair amount of our budget on search engine marketing, such as Google AdWords, because it's worked. It can become a bit of a drug though, and obviously we aim, particularly in 2012, to balance some of that traffic that we're paying for with traffic that's continually coming back to the site, engaging with the site, and a bit more organic traffic. So we'll try to re-look at that mix, but certainly we'll be doing whatever's worked this year, we'll do again next year.
What Glenn and the iProperty team have done is that they've approached this, I think, in a very good way. The first thing we'll say is definitely having some clear objectives from what you want to achieve from your campaigns is critically important. I think that also helps you understand where you want to spend your money and what you want to get out of it. Glenn mentioned a lot about whether it was driving traffic, whether it was building brands. He also mentioned the campaign that the guys ran was relevant both to people who were renting and also to the sort of high-value property developers, as well as understanding your geographic targets. The second thing I think that we find, whether it's with big brands and big businesses or with small businesses, is the definition of a test. I think it's important to understand that sometimes this is something that takes a bit of time to build and a bit of time to learn. And so having a clear timeline in relation to your objectives means that you can then run a test, take a step back, look at it, assess whether things are working or not, and tweak. The third thing I think is a combination of those first two, which is iterate. I think we really built the Google AdWords product, both on search and also on our Google Display Network, that this is something that is for business managers and marketing teams and not for technology experts. That does mean that over time we need to make sure that we demystify the whole category, and a big part of my and my team's objectives is around education. And so that idea of taking what you've learned from your tests and iterate over time, I think is important. The iProperty team have been investing in and learning the product over a long period of time, and I think that's good because it's starting to pay some dividends. I think the third thing is really just understanding it in the context of all of your other marketing expenditure. And I think that's also important. The aim here obviously is that 1 + 1 = 3, and by that it's really about understanding how digital fits into your overall marketing mix. Whether you're a big business or a small business, what we see is that often all of your other expenditure, it creates interest online. And so, for example, you're advertising on the side of a bus, you're advertising on a discussion forum or a property, you show up in the press. What that does is in turn creates interest from your users. And generally, often people are going to go to search to get some more information, and that's really why we see the context of search, in your overall marketing mix.